This is GARIS, Masculist, MGTOW flyers. That is 2 3-page essays on the themes of masculism and MGTOW, written by and read aloud by Prof. Dr. Hugo de GARIS. This is part 3 of flyer number 408, entitled The Coming Ideological War Between the Feminists and the Masculists. Continuing straight on. Such women can go fuck themselves, since no man will, or at least only the lowest of SMV, that's sexual marketplace value, men will fuck them. Such men are so desperate to put their penises in anything that they are prepared to penis even sexually repulsive, spherical, feminazi blobs. Masculine scientists will undermine the importance of removing the patriarchy by the feminists by using scientific arguments that the patriarchy is genetically inevitable and hence cannot be gotten rid of. They will use such arguments as women are dumber than men by 4 IQ points on average, says modern research. Men have a 10% higher IQ variance than women, so have IQ scores more spread out, whereas women's scores are more bunched up, so that the morons and the genii are males. Given that men are the genii, it's not surprising that men have won 99% of the science Nobel Prizes. Men have 10 times the testosterone levels in their blood than women, so are much more aggressive, ambitious, dogged, persistent, so accomplish far more than women, who give up more easily when the going gets tough. Women thus have greatly inferior achievement track records than men, which is why in all cultures boy babies are more valued than girl babies, since all cultures know from long experience that a boy baby is much more likely to grow up to be a highly productive member of the culture than a girl baby, who, with almost no exceptions, will grow up to be just another baby factory and child raiser, which, although is obviously essential, is not status worthy, since any woman can fucking raise kids. Given that women are dumber than men on average and have a smaller IQ variance, one can readily substitute the mean IQ and the IQ standard deviation into the IQ bell curve formula for men and for women. With these two bell curves, one can really calculate the proportion of men to women at various IQ performance levels. For example, the IQ needed to get a bachelor's degree in math, a master's degree in math, a PhD to become an assistant professor in math. At the full professor level, the calculation shows that only about 10% of full professors of pure math are women, and at the Fields Medal or Abel Prize level, that's the math equivalent of the Science Nobel Prize, the mathematical prediction is that only one woman per century will win one. It's my observation that only about 10% of full professors in the math-based sciences are women. So the mathematical prediction matches the reality pretty closely, and interestingly, there has only been one woman who has won the Fields Medal in reality, and only one different woman who has won the Abel Prize. Since the above predictions, based on a mathematical model, resemble the reality so closely, one cannot avoid the conclusion that one, in capital letters, can calculate the proportion of men to women performing at various IQ levels. Most feminists, being female, are so inscienate and so innumerate, that is, in brackets, that is, cannot think scientifically, mathematically, due to ignorance of science, math, close brackets, that they actually believe that women are just as capable as men when it comes to achievement at the top end of the performance scale. They are simply unaware that the genii are males, who are the movers and shakers of societies, who invent everything, build everything, create everything. It is men who create cultures, and it is women who parasite off them, contributing almost nothing except for their 2 traditional monopolies, which they will soon lose. When that happens, when men can grow their own kids and prefer to sex their bots rather than fat, obese, misandrous, feminazi bitches, then millions of men will simply wipe their hands of women, growing their own kids in their own artworms and penising luscious, curvy sex bots rather than tubs of lard who are feminazi nags. For those men who are members of the elite, say in the top 1,000th of humanity, when they are looking at women, they only have one direction to look in, and that is down. Very smart women ought to be able to imagine what life must be like for such elite males, that is, when nearly every female these elite men come across is intellectually inferior to them, unable to perform what these elite males can perform, so inevitably have a rather condescending attitude to women, seeing them largely as fuckholes and baby factories, but not as worthy of their respect, since nearly every woman they meet is unable to perform at their elite male standards. The few very smart women who can perform at such elite male levels probably share the same opinion as do the elite males when it comes to the ability levels of most women. However, for the majority of feminists, their IQ levels will be at high school teacher levels, 120s and 130s, who are smart enough to have opinions, but not smart enough to match the intelligent levels of their female full professors, and definitely not at the levels of the elite males. These dumber women will be a lot more closed-minded when it comes to hearing masculine arguments against the misandry of the monoconscious feminists, and will be much more dogmatic towards the masculist scientists, thus deserving the title of the Masculists who label them MFBs, that's monoconscious feminazi bigots. The more these dumber majority monoconscious feminists reject the arguments of the masculist scientists, that is, the more they reject the science behind these masculist scientists' arguments, then more vociferous will be the contempt of the masculist scientists towards them, using their superior male intelligence and much greater verbal aggression levels, in brackets, given their 10 times greater testosterone levels than women, to harangue these MFBs out of the room. Masculist scientists see such MFBs as indirect genociders who are destroying the lives of millions of men, so are hated and deserve to be hated. Since masculist scientists see such MFBs as genociders, as manslaving vermin who have to be wiped out, to be removed from their positions of power in the divorce courts, etc., then these masculist scientists will be merciless with them, crushing them intellectually with very strong masculist science. Since so much of feminist dogma is just that, dogma, it will be easy for the masculist scientists to crush it. Two of the core ideas of modern feminism is that women are the intellectual equals of men. True, there is considerable overlap of the performance score distributions of men and women, but women cannot compete with men at the genius end of the performance scale, so should simply just accept that fact. That is, they should be forced to accept it, since science shows that that is the case. If some feminist wishes to dispute these masculist scientists' claims, then she will have to fight fire with fire. That is, she will have to use superior science to defeat inferior science. There will be no choice about this, since science is the best knowledge-generating system that men, in very capital letters, have ever invented. Women win a pathetic 1% of science Nobel Prizes, so cannot compete with men at the top end of the performance scale. Now that the monoconscious feminists need to be destroyed, that is, need to be converted into biconscious feminists, in brackets, that is, have their feminist and their masculist consciousnesses raised, close brackets, masculist scientists can use their superior intellectual abilities and superior male aggression to wipe out monoconscious feminists. It will come as a real shock for monoconscious feminists to be confronted for the first time by truly verbally aggressive, intellectually superior masculist scientists who crush feminazi myths with masculist science. Most women are accustomed to men being nice to women because women have always had monopoly control of reproduction, deciding which man gets to put his penis in her vagina. But when masculist scientists attack the monoconscious feminists, aiming to destroy them through verbally aggressive, scientifically based attacks, these monoconscious feminists will feel that they have been hit by a bus, the masculist bus, which they will not be able to compete with due to their inferior female brains, their much lower aggression levels and much lower performance track records. Masculine scientists have a strong duty to society to destroy the monoconscious feminazis who have taken over the divorce courts and hence are indirectly wiping out whole populations, making them indirect genociders who have to be stopped. In the limit, Masculist soldiers will simply assassinate the gender politicians, murder thousands of fluffy feminist divorce court judges and lawyers, and may go into the streets and shoot millions of feminazis in order to stop whole populations from being wiped out, which is what the current fluffy feminist-dominated divorce courts are doing. It may come to that. But first, society ought to try the more benign method of having masculist scientists destroy monoconscious feminazism by attacking the core ideas of the monoconscious feminists. Given the superior intellects and superior aggression levels of the masculist scientists, that task should not be too difficult. It's likely that an ideological war between the monoconscious feminists and the masculists will get off the ground shortly. And when it does, the monoconscious feminists will wonder what on earth has hit them. They will never have experienced such a masculist onslaught before. It will be terrifying for them. They have never had such a formidable enemy as the masculist scientists who will destroy the very core beliefs that monoconscious feminists hold so close to their hearts. But these beliefs that women so desperately want to believe in, e.g. that women are men's equals, that the patriarchy needs to be destroyed, etc., are myths refuted by science. Those women who refuse to accept the conclusions of science will only evoke an even greater hostility from the masculist scientists, who will dismiss them as insane fairies, living in a fairyland, believing what they want to believe without evidence. If you're free to believe in whatever you want, you're free to believe in the tooth fairy. That makes insane feminazis no better than religionists or flat earthers. They will be blown out of the room by masculist scientists who will see them as vermin, as stupid, ignorant, inferior vermin to be spat at. Cheers. Prof. Dr. Hugo de GARIS. Email profhugodegaris@yahoo.com. Website profhugodegaris.wordpress.com. Author of the book Masculism, Men's Rebellion Against Being Man's Slaves to Women, an e-textbook of 400 plus masculist flyers for men's studies courses, freely downloadable in Microsoft Word format from my website. Ciao.